For the final time in 2023, TGIF, everyone, and welcome into the First Call podcast for First Bet and Express Bet. That's Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk. Our final show of the year, Jeff. I don't know how many podcasts we did, over 100, I guess, 2 a week, and we only took a week or two off here and there. So it's good to be back with you one more time, and hopefully you can keep the rain away there in Southern California.
Well, it never rains on the Rose Parade. So if it's going to rain, it'll be a day or two before, which means it impacts our handicapping for the weekend. Looks like it could. Last I checked, it looks like it comes in overnight, Friday. And of course, Santa Anita always loads up on grass racing. So we don't know what we're going to be dealing with. We've got the Joe Hernandez, a really good sprint down the hill stakes, which could be, I suppose, transferred to the flat course. Mm-hmm. Or maybe even dirt. So we'll handicap it as is, but with some contingencies. And There's a few other the Robert J. Frankel as well. So anyway, we'll deal with it. We don't get that much rain. We'll have to bite the bullet when we do.
And we've got some good racing around the country, so plenty of action to dive into this week. Before we talk about the Saturday stakes in our racing menu, I want to remind you that if you're playing today on Friday, some big carryovers all around the country. Pick 6 carryovers at Aqueduct and Fairgrounds, and a pick 5 carryover, late pick 5 today at Golden Gate Fields. That carryover $59,000, so a very significant carryover in the late pick 5 begins in race number 4 today, Friday, at Golden Gate Fields. If you want some extra Friday handicapping, be sure to go to the blog section at expressbet.com and at news.first.com. Frank Carulli's got a look at some Oaklawn action today, and Jeff's got his What You Need to Know and also his Daymakers for Santa Anita today. Daymakers videos, Jeff, you're putting those out each day in correspondence with your written blog as well.
Yeah, I do that. It's kind of fun, and as long as I don't try to do too many races, because I'm editing these things as well. I feel I'm a better handicapper than an editor. Let's put it that way. So, but anyway, I have a today. Sometimes there's an old saying: you got to play the card. You can't let the card play you. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when I'm doing these, I like certain plays better than others. It's just the way that the card comes up. I really like today. I sometimes I get myself in trouble when I say I love the card and then I end up not doing so well. But today at Santa Anita, I think it's worth playing because the card came up such where I have reasonable expectations. Let's put it that way. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about it. We'll hopefully people take advantage of it.
I know you have 2 singles in your All Turf Pick 3 today at Santa Anita. For folks playing the All Turf Pick 3, be sure you do it with Express Bet and First Bet throughout the course of the next month or so. That All Turf Pick 3 at Santa Anita, bet $100, get $20 back. So a $20 rebate if you bet up to $100. If you bet the $100 on the All Turf Pick 3 at Santa Anita on any particular card. So take a look at that today. Take a look at Jeff's Daymakers for the All Turf Pick 3. That video up again on both First Bet and Express Bet. Enough about Friday. Let's talk Saturday slate and welcome those of you in who are watching on YouTube. Be sure to check us out each week and hit that like button, share this out with other fans to help build our audience for the First Call podcast. And for the benefit of those of you on our traditional audio channels listening to the podcast, here's our lineup of 8 races that we will take a look at here over the next half hour or so. At Aqueduct, we'll kick things off with the Gravesend Stakes, 4 sprinters on the main track. We'll go to Oaklawn Park, more sprinters on the main, 5.5 furlong dashers here in the Poinsettia Stakes in Hot Springs. To Gulfstream Park for a little bit of everything. 4 stakes races at Gulfstream on Saturday. The Rampart in the Distaff Division, the Suwannee River on the turf, the Harlan's Holiday on the dirt for the horses prepping perhaps for the Pegasus World Cup, and then the Fort Lauderdale back on the turf, maybe for horses looking towards the Pegasus World Cup turf. So good card on Saturday at Gulfstream. 4 stakes races, several of those graded with implications towards next month's Pegasus Day. At Santa Anita on Saturday, it'll be early in the card for the 2 turf stakes. The Joe Hernandez kicks it off, and the Bobby Frankel will also take a look at that. So that's your 8 stakes races that we will handicap on this week's edition of the First Call podcast. Tournament players, you're absolutely loaded Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. ExpressBet.com, the best place online to play the handicapping tournaments. The money goes right into the pari-mutuel pools, and I'll tell you what, we keep nothing off of the tournaments. Everything paid back in prize money. And so your wagers to get placed into the pari-mutuel pool and your entry fees, 100% of it paid back. Gulfstream Park, $80 feeders on Friday and Sunday towards the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Santa Anita, you can play tournament play for as low as $40. $40 entry fees to the next big feeder tournament at Santa Anita. Check those out this weekend. And if you're into the high stakes play and you're trying to get into that Pegasus World Cup betting championship next month at Gulfstream, there's a $1,000 tournament on Saturday, a buy-in live money tournament involved there. This is a super low ratio qualifier, which means the number of players that are in the tournament is preset on how many spots will win towards the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. This is your best way to get into the Pegasus World Cup Betting Championship. $1,000 buy-in tournament, PWC-BC qualifier on Saturday for Gulfstream Park. All right, that's enough of the preliminaries, Jeff. Let's talk some handicapping now as we go to Aqueduct on Saturday, the $150,000 Gravesend Stakes. The Gravesend, not named for a horse, but rather a racetrack. You've got to go back in time for that one. It was only open for 24 years on Coney Island, 1886 to 1910 when it closed. But the Gravesend Stakes for 3-year-olds has some age about it in another way. Greeley and Ben in here is 9 years old. He will not be eligible to run on the NYRA circuit as a 10-year-old and a lot of the major circuits around the country. He just won a week ago at Laurel in the Dave's Friend. His connections, new trainer Horatio DePaz, who's had him for the last 3 starts, brings him back on a week's rest. What a career he's had. 25 wins, 42 starts. He hasn't run that much, 42 starts for a 9-year-old. But boy, could he go out with a bang, winning his final 3 races of his career and stakes in back-to-back weekends.
I would sue for age discrimination. I mean, it's one thing, and we see this a lot where some horses get old and they start, falling down the class ladder, and they don't want to do it anymore or can't do it anymore, and so they should be retired, and they're not. Mm-hmm. But Greeley and Ben, I mean, he doesn't know he's 9. No, I mean, he's running solid numbers, genuine, consistent. I mean, I don't know how much more they want from him. There should be like a waiver there or something.
Yeah.
That said, though, I think Durrante's going to win this race, even though he got beat last time out in the fall high weight. He was giving weight away that day. The one that beat him, Bold Journey, was getting 6 pounds, and now they're equal weight. So, and also the pace situation looks fairly soft here. I think Durrante on the outside looks like he can kind of pick his spot, whether it's on the lead or just kind of stalking the pace. He's a tough old pro himself. He's not that old, actually. He's only 4. It seems like he's been around for a long time, but we had him out here in California, and he was a hard-knocking gelding, starter-type horse, but he's a lot better now for David Jacobson. And I think from that outside draw, he can kind of control the race. So I'm going to go with Durrante to win. My heart is with Greeley and Ben. We shall see what happens.
Greeley and Ben, 9 years old. You say, can I take a 9-year-old in this race? 8-year-olds won this race the last 2 years, so why not go for the 9-year-old if you're looking for the age? David Jacobson, you mentioned the trainer of Durrante. He also has the 1 stage left in here. Jacobson's looking for a little flashback, if you will. Once upon a time, he dominated this race, winning it in 2012, 13, 14, and 16. He's looking for his first win in the Gravesend in 7 years' time, but he's won 4 of them over the years. He's got Durrante and Stage Left in here. Stage Left also coming back off a week's rest in that Dave's Friend Stakes. So popular older sprinters coming back here late in the season. Let's go to our second stakes race and shift to Oaklawn Park on Saturday, where it's the Poinsettia Stakes. 5.5 furlongs on the main track. We've already seen a 5.5 furlong stakes at the meet, won by Steve Asmussen. That was Valentine Candy in the Advent Stakes earlier in the meet. Asmussen's coming back with a couple in here. He's got the 1 High Class, and he's also got 6 Topsy, who's the 9-5 morning line favorite. Who did you go with, Jeff, in the Poinsettia Stakes?
I went with number 3. I'm the Boss of Me. One of my default angles in a young meeting, a new meeting as Oaklawn is, relatively new. Is I like to see how horses have done over the track in the past, because you get a lot of horses coming in from different places. Churchill, Delaware, in the case of I'm the Boss of Me. We've got Oaklawn, a few. Zia Park is represented here. So I looked at I'm the Boss of Me. I noticed that she'd run 9 times here, 3 wins, a second and 2/3. And while she hasn't been out since July, she does have a history of running well and winning fresh. I know she likes the track. And the barn has good stats with layoff runners. And I think in a race like this, she's going to be right up in the fray. I don't know. I don't think she'll be in front. Maybe she will. But High Class from the rail is going to bust out there and go. And I'm the Boss of Me. It looks like she should be able to battle that one and hopefully go on with it. I'm the Boss of Me is the kind of mare that, if she falls behind by a length or two, she's not real happy. So she's going to have to be right up in there, not necessarily in front, but right on head and head or right off the pace. And I think that's the kind of trip that I project for her. So it kind of all adds up. And at 4-1, that's a gambling number for a mare like her. So I'm going to go with I'm the Boss of Me to win the poinsettia.
And field size to me is always important in how a race is going to shake out and how you might want to bet the race, obviously. But to me, the smaller the field size, the more I want to lean towards early speed. And in this particular case, you've got it with I'm the Boss of Me. Again, she should be first or second with High Class coming out from the rail. Those two should lead them into the turn. They're only going 5.5 furlongs, so we'll see how they come out of the turn and who survives to the wire in the Poinsettia Stakes at Oaklawn Park. Before we shift gears and take you to Gulfstream for their 4 stakes races, I want to remind you a couple stakes races at Laurel Park this weekend. For the 2-year-olds, we've got the Gin Talking Stakes and the Hef Stakes at Laurel Park, so check that out in Maryland. The 2-year-olds wrapping up their season with just 2 days left to be 2, and then all the thoroughbreds will turn 3 on New Year's Day, Monday. Next up for us on the docket is Gulfstream Park, as we mentioned on Saturday's program at Gulfstream Park. A big card of 11, 4 of those stakes races, the Rampart, the Sewanee River, the Harlan's Holiday, and the Fort Lauderdale that we'll look at. Before we get to Jeff, we'll give him a chance to catch his breath and tell you about Eddie Olczyk's hat trick picks for Saturday at Gulfstream Park. None of these are the stakes races that we're looking at, so you're actually getting 7 races analyzed for you on the podcast today when you take Edzo's 3 and Jeff's 4. Eddie's got 3 picks for you in race number 6. It's the 10 on Esto, his top choice. Race number 6, the 10 for Eddie on Saturday at Gulfstream Park. Big winner last week, I think, paid $27 for Edzo on the program at Gulfstream. So we'll see if he can hit back-to-back Saturdays. Next up for Eddie is race number 7, the 5, L at Lotzie. L at Lotzie, his top pick, the 5 in race number 7. And then he'll wrap it up in race number 9 with the 5 Buoys. Race number 9, the 5 Buoys, Edzo's top pick at Gulfstream Park. None of those 3 favorites in the morning line. 6, 7, 9, the races. Race 6 to 10, race 7 to 5, and race 9 to 5. That's the hat trick from Eddie Olczyk. He put one between the pipes last week, Jeff, in the finale at Gulfstream, so we'll hope Eddie can do it again. Now we're going to put you to the test. And do you ice skate? Can you go around center, center ice?
Yeah. You asked me a question, Jeremy, and I missed it. So repeat that because the sound went off here.
I was trying to be witty and say that Eddie's hat trick put one through the pipes last week, and I asked if you could ice skate. I don't know. Maybe we should.
Okay. Well, the answer to that is no. Okay. I want nothing to do with ice skating. Although I do admire those guys because I can't imagine it being. I mean, sure, guys grow up doing it if they live in such an area that has ice and snow. I haven't ever seen ice or snow in my life, so that's true. I mean, I've been in California all my life. I think I was in snow once, but it was like off to the side of the street or something. I don't know. Anyway, but no, Eddie had a great winner last week. That was terrific. It was a tough race, and he gave a logical reason to like that $20 plus winner. So the one that I like in the Sewanee River, Jeremy, isn't going to be that price, but I do like number 4, Full Count Felicia. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I like her is her versatility. If you look at her form, 2 races back, she won the All Along. She wired the field and looked sharp doing it. And you think, okay, well, that's true, but she made the lead, and horses sometimes make the lead and they outrun themselves.
Right.
But Full Count Felicia, when she broke her maiden, she came from 11th. She also won a race by 6, rallying from 9 lengths off the pace last year. So she can do anything you want her to do. The thing is, she was out here in California for the Golden Cova during Breeders' Cup week, and she was 4th that day. But that was a very hot pace that she was forced to deal with. I think she may have not appreciated the fact that she was only 3 lengths behind a 45 and 1/2, and the winner came from off it. So I think the pace scenario here looks much more palpable for her. And whether or not she's on the lead or not, I don't necessarily think she will, but she could be. I think she's going to run huge here for Brittany Russell and Irad Ortiz. It looks like she's got a real nice series of works at Palm Meadows to have her fit and ready. And I think she's going to bounce back to the type of race that she produced 2 runs back when she was very impressive, earned a career top buyer number, winning the All Along.
Quarter to go at Pimlico. Full count Felicia. She was intent on the lead, and she's got a 7-length lead as they turn in for a long and a half left to go. Full count Felicia. Count the lengths. 9, almost 10. Full count Felicia with a furlong left to go. Creative Cairo with Akaya left to battle it out for second. And next on the inside is 8 Dances. Full count Felicia. Much the best. Sheldon Russell taking a peep back, and Full count Felicia wins by some 8.
So that's Jeff's top pick in the Sewanee River, Full Count Felicia. Let's go back to the Rampart Stakes, Jeff. Race number 5. We breezed over that one, but let's go back to that one and see who you might like in there. Mary Quite Contrary, the defending champ in race number 5, Saturday at Gulfstream, the Rampart. She's awfully good when she runs her race. She's tough to topple, but she comes from well off the pace. Can she close and get there? Do you like someone else maybe in front of her to get first run? Who did you end up with in the Rampart Stakes?
Well, yeah, I skipped over the Rampart because my pages were messed up, so I'm not all there today. I will say that I'm struggling here. But I looked at Mary Quite Contrary because, again, I mentioned the horse for course angle that I like to lean on, and 8 starts, 6 wins in 2 seconds. That's not perfect, but it's pretty close. And she does have the proper style for a 1-turn mile, whereas she's not a real quick filly, but a 1-turn mile gives her the opportunity to kind of get into her rhythm and not have to be pushed and shoved out of the gate, which I don't think she likes. Now, she's run well in shorter races, but these extended sprints or these 1-turn miles are right up her alley. So she's going to be hard to beat. I actually tried to beat her here with Unifying number 2. She's won 2 in a row. Her numbers are rising. She's lightly raised, only 8 starts. She's getting better with every start. She hasn't been out since Ellis Park when she won a race in the Slop, a stakes race that day, but her form prior to that at Oaklawn was good. Again, her work pattern is such where I absolutely think she's fit and ready. Time will tell whether she will fire fresh, but I think that she will. And she's got more tactical speed than Mary Quite Contrary. She'll be in front of her, and I think that might give her a slight edge in a race that has speed. But these 1-turn mile races, you never know what you're going to get. They could go fast, they could go slow. But Unifying looks to me like a filly who can kind of adjust and adapt to anything. So at 7-2, I like her at that price to beat Mary Quite Contrary, recognizing that if Mary runs her race, obviously she's going to be tough to beat.
Riley Mott off to a good start with a string of horses down in South Florida. Jeff's got his runner Unifying as the top pick at race number 5, the Rampart on Saturday at Gulfstream. To the 10th we go. It's the Express Bet race of the week, the Harlan's Holiday Stakes. It's a mile and a 16th on the main track. Of course, that's a short run into the first turn, the clubhouse turn at Gulfstream Park. So I always like to say inside speed in these races does have a serious chance to steal one. And WNL, the 1, and New York Traffic, the 2, I think are 2 horses that both have a forward type style that could be very interesting in this particular spot with the configuration of the track. This is a potential prep to the Pegasus World Cup. We've already seen where O'Connor's connections, including trainer Safi Joseph, have indicated they are heading towards the Pegasus World Cup with the Fayette winner. So this is a prep for O'Connor. It's going to be coming from off the pace. We'll see if that 16th pole finish line, which will be in play at a mile and a 16th, not in play for the Pegasus. So that changes the way this race looks, often like how we see with the Holy Bull and the Fountain of Youth before we get to the Florida Derby, a little bit different path that these horses will take in the main event in the Pegasus World Cup. Jeff, who did you like in here in race number 10, the Harlan's Holiday?
Well, yeah, I like Safi's horse, but I like him. I like the other one. I like New York Traffic, or you call him New York Traffic or NY Traffic?
I go right to New York. Yeah.
All right, I'll say New York because that's what it is. Anyway, he hasn't been out since October. He ran in the mud that day. He ran all right. He got beat as the favorite, but again, he's got prior form, a good form, winning form at Gulfstream. I love that 2-hole drag on a mile and 1/16. He's going to draft into exactly where he wants to be, not on the lead, but right behind the leaders. That's where he finds himself most comfortable. Now, he can win on the lead, and if they hand him the front end, he'll say thank you very much. But he doesn't need it. And if anybody wants to go, I think Castellano and New York Traffic is going to fold right in there, get a good stocking trip. First or second, 12 out of 23 in good company. He was a very, very good 3-year-old back in the day. And it still looks to me like he's got that spirit. Now, he's been sprinting So but he can route. I mean, I
Sure.
believe he can anyway. And I think at this distance, he's going to be sharp. And I think he's going to, again, at 6-1, I think there's a gamble there for me. So New York Traffic, mild surprise for Safi, who also, as you mentioned, has O'Connor in here, who on pure numbers and pure company lines is the logical one to beat.
Sure.
I don't know if this is the most important race for him.
Yeah.
It may be more important for New York Traffic.
Safi Joseph ran 1-4 in this race last year when Skippy Longstocking won it. Then O'Connor ran 4th in this particular spot. Maybe New York Traffic will follow Skippy Longstocking to the winner's circle for the barn and another, half of the superfecta. That's very plausible in this particular situation where Safi could have 2 of the top 4 again for the second year in a row in the Harlan's Holiday. Next up, we go to Gulfstream. It's the Fort Lauderdale Stakes, prep towards the Pegasus World Cup turf. This is 1 mile and an eighth on the grass. And just as we had in the last race with 11 in there, another good betting race with a pretty full field of 10. Jeff, I know you like a horse in here, Grand Sonata. We're going to take a look at his recent workouts down at Palm Beach Downs. This is the horse who loved Gulfstream Park early in his career. I thought he was the best 3-year-old turfer in Florida back when he was a sophomore. He hasn't come back to that form, but he's back to Gulfstream now. And could this be a wake-up call for him?
Yeah, this breeze with Jerry the Nipper. They're right alongside each other here. Grand Sonata's on the outside. Looks like a happy horse. They're right alongside each other in the starting gate as well for the Fort Lauderdale, so they know each other pretty well. I ended up going with Grand Sonata. He's a horse that, you pointed out, he's 2 for 2 at Gulfstream. I think you run at Churchill on good ground and at Aqueduct on yielding ground. I'm not sure he's real happy with that. I think he's probably better where there's a pretty firm surface to deal with. In fact, 3 races back at Saratoga, very firm at Saratoga. We know that. He won a race 2 races back. So I'm going to forgive him for his last 2. They weren't. They were below his standard. He might have been in too tough anyway. But he's training well. He's got a little bit of freshening now. He's been off 6 weeks. I love that. Again, that 2-hole draw is going to allow him to kind of draft in and sit in the second flight where he wants to be. But the bottom line is this: first or second, 8 out of 17. He's pretty genuine. 2 for 2 at Gulfstream Park. Back with his win rider. That's another angle I like, with Gaffleone taking them out. 1 on him 3 races back. So 9-2. That's about right. I wouldn't want to take much less, but in a race in which many of these look like they have a race in their chart that would allow them to be dangerous. I'm going to go with a horse that I know likes the course. He likes it really firm. Grand Sonata, slight edge in the Fort Lauderdale.
He's one of 2 Todd Pletchers in here. There are also 2 Mike Makers and 2 Chad Browns. So they're doubling up 2 by 2 into this one. One of the Chad Browns is Stone Age, runner-up in the Breeders' Cup Turf back in 2022. Has not been the same kind of season this year at age 4 for the Galileo Colt, though. We'll see if Stone Age can get back on the beam after a couple dull efforts on the NYRA circuit earlier this year. We'll see if he can't get back towards a Pegasus World Cup Turf bid. Stone Age, Johnny Velasquez riding for Chad Brown. One of 2 Browns in here. He also has the 9 running B with Irad Ortiz. Running B, the morning line favorite in here, has won 3 of his last 4, 2 straight, but has never run in stakes company on the grass at this kind of level. Ran in the Dueling Grounds Derby back in 2022. But interesting that running B off that recent form and the big fig is the morning line favorite. Remind you, at Gulfstream Park this weekend, too, we also have on Monday the Mucho Macho Man Stakes coming up. That'll be race 10 on Monday's New Year's Day card as the Road to the Triple Crown gets going in earnest at Gulfstream Park here during the championship meet. That's the feature race on Monday at Gulfstream, the Mucho Macho Man Stakes. Next up for us handicapping, we'll go to Jeff's backyard at Santa Anita. It's supposed to rain overnight. Let's see if we can't keep these on the grass. The Joe Hernandez will go as race number 1. The Bobby Frankel Stakes will be just a bit later on the card in a race number 3. So early pick 5 players with that low takeout. You've got a couple stakes races of major repute to look at on Saturday at Santa Anita. Jeff, the Joe Hernandez, named for the original race caller at Santa Anita. Fun history lesson for folks who don't know. Joe Hernandez was the voice at Santa Anita on opening day, Christmas, the day after Christmas, 1934. He called every race until his passing in 1972. 38 years, did not miss a race at Santa Anita. 15,587 consecutive races called on the mic by Joe Hernandez, the original voice of Santa Anita. And there have been so many great great ones since then. But the original voice, Joe Hernandez, this race named in his honor in race number 1. Any memories you want to share of Joe's great calls?
Yeah, for sure. If you listen to Joe Hernandez call a race, you wouldn't recognize it because it's so much different. Then was so much different then than it is now. Now announcers are commentating on, it's not really a rhythmic flow like it used to be. Joe used to, he was had this great Spanish accent, and he would call it like, because most announcers called it like chart callers back then.
Mhm.
They'd say first by second, so and so was third, fourth.
Right.
They wouldn't editorialize,
Mhm.
But Joe, when he called a race, it was like a song where it had a beginning, a middle, and the end, and it worked its way up, and then the crescendo, and it was unique, And then I honestly feel that when Trevor came over back in the early '80s, and he brought the European, or in this case the South African style of calling, everybody kind of, the new guy, the new breed of announcer kind of went that way. They got rid of the chart calling way, and I, quite frankly, like the new way better. But nobody was better than Joe, because it was like listening to a symphony when he called a race. And I was working at KLAC Radio as a newsman when I was first job out of college, when the newswire came over that he had passed away in 1972. It was my first job, and I had to report that, and I did it straight, like a straight newsman. But it was part of my life that passed with him, because I had grown up when I was 5-6 years old listening to him. So that I remember more than anything else, and it's hard to believe that it's been almost 52 years, right in that area. So anyway, but I love Joe, and I occasionally will go back and listen to some of his calls. In fact, last night I tried to find on YouTube his call of the 1966 San Juan Capistrano, the race that Johnny Longdon, his last ride, and George Royal. Greatest race call I ever heard from Joe, and unfortunately they had the race on the film, but no sound, so I couldn't use it. So maybe I'll find it again someday. I remember it like it was almost yesterday. So anyway, this race, 6.5 down the hill, and Joe Hernandez was also a bloodstock agent on the side. He was actually responsible for the importation of Cougar II, one of the most popular and top-class racehorses in the 70s here in California. Anyway, this race is scheduled for the downhill turf course.
Right.
But again, we mentioned at the top of the show, it may rain. And if that happens, they do have the option of switching it to the flat course, because I don't think they really want to cross the dirt and give these horses a foreign surface to run if it's wet. Or if it's on dirt, they might just take it all off. But if they do that, then they're going to lose half the field. So I think no matter where they run it or what surface they run it, I'm going to try to gamble on Tahoe Sunrise. He's number 9 on the program. He's a lightly raced Bob Baffert colt. He's a 3 tackling older. Here's a breeze with Newgate. Newgate's on the outside. You remember Newgate? He won the Lewis last winter and then disappeared, and he's coming back pretty well. But look at Tahoe Sunrise. Under a tight hold, he's breezing. He's going the easier of the two. He's just galloping. He looks like a colt who's going to step forward yet again. He's won his last 2, and both those races were mile races, but he did break his maiden sprinting, so he can sprint as well. And being by American Pharoah, I really cannot wait to see him try grass. I think, as most of the American Pharaohs do, I think he's going to move up on grass.
Yeah.
And this is his first taste of it. He's never breezed on it, never ran on it. So we don't know how much, if any, he's going to step forward and improve. But I'm going to gamble that he will. He's got good tactical speed. He doesn't need to lead the win. He's been sprinting, routing, but he can sprint. And I think on this surface, to me, and the way he's been working, I'm going to gamble Tahoe Sunrise for me in the Joe Hernandez.
He's one of 3 really essentially dirt horses trying this. The big name of the dirt horses is Forbidden Kingdom. Does have the 1 turf sprint try way back in 2021 at Santa Anita, going 5 on the turf. But Forbidden Kingdom would be going down the hill for the first time. Hasn't raced since May for Richard Mandela, but this was one of the top 3-year-olds last year, in 2022, favorite for the Santa Anita Derby after winning the San Felipe. But he's on a losing streak, Jeff. He's lost 6 in a row. They're trying to find the right spot for him. Maybe 6.5 on the dirt. If this race would come on, and be switched over to the dirt, would be better off for him. What do you think of him coming down the hill?
Well, he's American Pharoah, and again, he had that one start way back when he was a baby at 2 years old, and made the lead. I've tried him. One thing about Forbidden Kingdom, he always trains well. He kind of advertises himself in the morning. But what I have seen from him is a horse with a lot of ability, a lot of talent, a lot of speed, but not a lot of fight when you hook him. Now, he got loose on the lead when he won the San Felipe back in 2022. That's almost 2 years ago. But whenever he feels pressure from the top of the stretch to the wire, he kind of like waves the white flag. He's got to be far in front to keep going. I don't trust him. Now, that doesn't mean that he won't improve a ton on grass. You mentioned he had a run on grass. But the same thing happened in that grass sprint back in October going 5/8. He was part of the pace. He had his chance, and he just doesn't give you that second move. So I've seen Tahoe Sunrise do that. So I know that if push comes to shove, I think you're going to get a much better response from Tahoe Sunrise over Forbidden Kingdom. Yet, if it's on dirt, all bets are off in the sense that I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm going to go. I looked at him closely. Don't get me wrong, but I just have a prejudice against him. So for me, Tahoe Sunrise is the one.
I'll give a shot in here to Lucky Score if this race stays on the grass, because this is a cutback horse, been running miles of late, some one-turn miles at Woodbine in the King Edward and the Woodbine Mile. But you look at the company lines, Master of the Seas, Big Invasion, Cheryl Spite, Mauge, Casa Creed. This is a class drop, without a doubt, for what Lucky Score has run in the last 3 starts. So I give Lucky Score a shot in here for Mark Cassidy coming west, but, not obviously this horse probably doesn't even run if it goes on the dirt. Maybe they tried by looking at Lucky and they would already be out there. But, this is a horse I want for the turf. But I'm not wild about the rail coming down the hill. I'd rather be on the outside than the inside down the hill. It's not the greatest post position, but I do like Lucky Score in there a little bit if we can keep that one on the turf. To race number 3 at Santa Anita on Saturday, our 8th and final race to handicap here on the podcast. It's the Bobby Frankel, named for the 5-time Eclipse Award winner, voted to the Hall of Fame in 1995. Bobby Frankel, of course, passed away in 2009 at the age of 68, and he was still really a couple years prior to that going super strong, setting records in the early 2000s for number of Grade 1 wins in a calendar year. I think that was 2003 when he rattled off, I believe, 25, 26 Grade 1 wins. Bobby Frankel, one of the best to ever do it on either coast. One of the rare trainers, Jeff, that both the New Yorkers and the Californians both feel are among the all-time greats.
No question about that. Bobby trained for me. In fact, the first race he ever won back in 1976 was in partnership with Mr. Frankel. It was a cheap $10,000 claiming horse, but it was like the Derby for me. And we claimed him. His name was Arrival Thomas, son of Nashua. That's how far back that goes. And Bobby was great. I went to Europe with him a couple of times to look for horses with him, and he was amazing. Just we showed him a bunch of horses, and I showed him the form, and he says, "I know what kind of horse I want." And he looked at these horses because he wanted a certain type. And he bought 5 or 6. I think 4 of them won stakes over here. And that was his really first taste of turf racing. And he made such an impression in taking everybody else's rejects from Europe that suddenly, all of a sudden, Judmont says, "I'll just give you the good ones." How about that? And then he took that and ran with it. So he had a much deserving race for fillies and mares on the grass. Sometimes they name these races, I don't know where they come up with the name and they don't match up the conditions and the horse. But if ever there's a appropriate grass race for fillies and mares, it should be the Robert J. Frankel. So we shall see. Jeremy, I had a hard time with this race. I ended up with your want there, the Irish bred. She's relatively lightly raced. She's got a prior win 2 races back at Santa Anita. She's got numbers that are rising, even though she got beat last time out. Doesn't have any tactical speed, though. And going a mile and 1/8, you would think, okay, well, they're all going to bunch anyway. Who can kick home the best? But I looked at her and I looked at Lakota Spirit, who doesn't have the form in better races or quite the numbers. I'm scared to death of Lakota Spirit because of the pace scenario. So while your want there did run well in the Catherine Crosby at Del Mar last time out, going a mile, and maybe was caught for speed a little bit because they went so slow early and fast late. I just don't know whether she's the right one. This is a no conviction pick, even though I guess she did run reasonably well in the Crosby, and that's a better race than anything Lakota Spirit's done.
Let's see her last effort, as you mentioned, in the Catherine Crosby.
Around the far turn, Lucky for You takes up the running, and right after her is Dolce Zell. These two hook up at the top of the stretch. Ganadora cuts the corner, but is back running in third. Turner Loose is fourth. Linda's Gift has had a rough trip. In behind horses and coming two is Year One There from the back of the pack, but Dolce Zell has opened up. Year One There is closing in on the outside, running out of time to beat Dolce Zell. Dolce Zell takes it from Year One There.
Jeff, you get these short fields on the turf like this and no pace in the race, right? This looks like a very paceless kind of race. To me, they become riders' races. So then I start looking down the past performances. What jock do I want? Hernandez, Dettori, Frezu, Camuro, Pratt, and Rispoli. They're all here. I mean, like, if these are like the best grass riders, probably if you could pick 6 out of the jocks room to come ride on the grass. So no advantage there either. There's really not a lot of separators in what looks to be a tough field. Your One There probably needs a little bit of pace help, but who knows how this field is going to bunch and how it's going to shake out. Maybe the 3 goes out to the front and the 1, Lakota Spirit. They seem like the only 2 that have any interest at all in the front, but neither one very classy. So again, you just think that Year One There is going to get every chance to kick late. Rispoli's riding well on the grass, so take your shot there in a field of 6. But like you said, this is like a no conviction kind of pick. And if you're looking at that early pick 5 with the low takeout at Santa Anita on Saturday's card, 6-horse field, there's going to be a temptation for people to kind of really narrow, because of the field size. But this might be a spot where third choice in the race at 4-1 could pay like a 20-1 shot in the pick 5, because people aren't going to get 3 deep in this particular spot. They're probably going to settle on 1 or 2 given the field size.
I would really not feel comfortable if I were playing the early pick 5, leaving anybody out, because I mean, maybe Rebel Girl looks on form like she's not good enough, but that's the kind that blows everybody out. So right, I don't know. I mean, it's a rider's race, and they all can read a racing form as much as we would sometimes doubt it when we watch these guys, but and I think her. And I tell you, who's my experience in the last year or two, the guy who really seems to always do the right thing is Juan Hernandez, and he's got Lakota Spirit on the inside, and he's going to look over and say, "Well, Rebel Girl's not a pace horse. Maybe Angel Natashiko is. Maybe if she goes, but if she doesn't, maybe I'll just let Lakota Spirit run out of there from the rail and then judge it." I hate guys taking back from the rail. Go out there, let them find out where you're going to be, and then if nobody goes, you're where you want to be. And if you don't, you haven't lost anything. So Juan is just great. He's always in the right spot at the right time.
Yeah. This is a good betting race from the terms of our promotion this weekend with Express Bet and First Bet. It's a $10 money back special on all the stakes races at Santa Anita, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, as well as the stakes races at sister first tracks, Gulfstream Park and Laurel. So any Gulfstream, Laurel, or Santa Anita stakes race this weekend has a $10 money back special, where if your win bet finishes second or third, you get up to $10 of your bet back in the form of wagering credit. So just a 6-horse field to finish top 3, you got a 50% chance of lighting the board in here and taking advantage of the promotion. Good race here to take the $10 win bet if you want to play that way and try to use these promotions to your advantage. Every bit you can get. We spend all of our time handicapping and trying to figure out the right horses, but crafting your wagers, maximizing your account, everything that you can do in this game to help your ROI and your bottom line is in your arsenal, and a lot of players are too lazy to do it. So take advantage. If you're going to use this $10 money back special, a short field like this and a pretty wide open race, this could be a chance to take a little bit of a stab at a horse and still get your money back if you don't pull it off in the Bobby Frankel Stakes. It's race number 3 on Saturday at Santa Anita. For more coverage of Santa Anita Stakes races on Saturday, be sure to check out John White's blog at expressbet.com and at news.first.com. John takes a look at the Joe Hernandez and also updates his Kentucky Derby top 10 list this week after Nash's surprising defeat last weekend in the Gunrunner Stakes at the Fairgrounds. So, Jeff, I'll have my first top 20 of the year for Countdown to the Crown coming out next Friday, a week from today, January 5th. Looking forward to the 19th season of Countdown to the Crown. I can tell you, I went through my first run of putting a top 20 together. I had 44 names, so I started paring down to get it around 20. We'll see if anything changes after this weekend or any late news before releasing it next week. But some familiar names we know will be near the top. Fierceness and Nisos, obviously. The East and West powerhouses probably as we turn to this year's Triple Crown season. What say you?
What's your impression? I was going to ask you real quick of this year's crop as of January 1st. Is it strong at the top? Does it have some depth to it? What do you think?
I think the top 2 are strong. I think Fierceness and Nisos are really good horses, so I think we're good there, and then we're going to start to fill in underneath. What we've seen in recent years is like you just got to kind of get to January to figure this thing out. I mean, nobody knew Mage and all these like late developing horses. It is the era of Justify and beyond, since 2018, and so you can't get too married to what you saw in this 2-year-old form. I mean, history just tells us nobody knew who Arcangelo was until we got almost it up against the Belmont Stakes, right? I mean, about National Treasure last year when the Preakness was probably the most accomplished of the horses as a 2-year-old into the 3-year-old season from the ones that we saw, out off his effort, I believe, at Los Alamitos National Treasure. So yeah, we got to wait and see, but I think we have 2 very good ones at the top. I think there's some interesting horses kind of bubbling underneath. And I'll say this, of the top 20, there's a heavy dose of Brad Cox, of Todd Pletcher, of Bob Baffert. You would expect that. That's not any, surprise there. But I'll tell you this, Bill Mott has a really good hand to play this year. I know Parchment Party's a horse you've liked. He's got another big one who won by 10 in the debut at Churchill Downs. The name's Knightsbridge. Knightsbridge is the other one there. So Mott's got a couple in there, and we got some names. Chad Brown's got a couple. I thought Brown's horse that was runner-up in the Remsen looks to have a lot of potential moving forward. So I think it's a pretty good group, and we'll see. But names to be determined are going to be the story probably by the time we get to May.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for sure. We had a race for years here at Santa Anita called the Sham Stakes, which was a early unveiling of some 2-year-olds or turning 3-year-olds in January. They no longer have that race, so we're not going to really see any serious competition out here until February. But that's okay because most trainers usually wait that long anyway nowadays. So. But we'll be keeping close tabs. We've got Oaklawn to look at, Fairgrounds, obviously, even Aqueduct, even Laurel. You never know what you're going to get from there. So it'll be interesting tracking these 3-year-olds, and we'll be looking forward to your weekly report and keeping us up to date.
As we get to Monday, New Year's Day, again, a reminder, Mucho Macho Man Stakes at Gulfstream. The Smarty Jones, as we talk about those 3-year-olds, kicks off the Arkansas Derby Series at Oaklawn Park. And out at Santa Anita, Las Flores in the Filly Mare Sprint Division will be the feature race on Monday, New Year's Day. So that's a wrap for this week's podcast. Reminder, big $59,000 carryover in the late pick 5 at Golden Gate Fields on Friday. Be sure to check that out and get Jeff's full card analysis for the Santa Anita card each and every day at First Bet and Express Bet. Happy New Year, everybody. Watch the ball drop, then get some sleep and get up to play the races on New Year's Day. On behalf of everybody with First Bet and Express Bet, Jeff, send them out with a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody, and good luck and make some money.
Let's do it.